Hello, everyone. My name is Callum, and this is Andrew, and we're continuing and are talking about the 5 habits of deeply contented people. This is the book, The 5 Habits of Deeply Contented People, written by the Honorable Andrew Page. And each week we're chatting about one of the habits and how we can practice them. Andrew, could you explain briefly just kind of premise of the 5 habits of deeply contented people?
Yep. It's about the 5 habits, the 5 things that Adam does in Genesis 2 because he's made in God's image. And they are 5 things that animals can't do because they're not made in God's image. But we can because we are made in God's image. So whether we believe in God or not, we all do these things. It's an automatic thing. That's one of the intriguing things about it. But we can all do it more, all do these habits more. And if we give ourselves to them a bit more and deliberately do these 5 habits, then we'll be more contented because we'll be behaving not like animals, we'll be behaving like people made in God's image.
Amazing. We're on habit number 3 today. If you, I'd highly recommend getting the book, first of all, which you can do through 10 of those, or by contacting the church bookstall. Or you can also watch the previous 2 videos on habit number 1 and 2 on both of our church YouTube channel. So, Andrew, the first 2 habits, by the way, are enjoy beauty and dig your garden.
Well done.
About habit number 3. So, Andrew, what's habit number 3?
Habit number 3 is practice self-control.
Okay, this one sounds less fun to me, to be honest.
I'm sure everybody thinks that. I mean, the reason it's there is because obviously in Genesis chapter 2, God says very generously to Adam and Eve, you can have anything, eat from any tree in the garden except from this one tree. And if you eat from this tree, if you disobey me, in that day you'll die spiritually. So Adam had to practice self-control and is able to practice self-control. One of the things that marks us out as people and not machines is that we can decide not to do certain things or to do other things. So that's great. I'm practice self-control now because somebody is standing on the pavement outside waving at me, wanting me to come to the window and talk to them, but I'm going to ignore them completely and write an apologetic email afterwards.
Oops. Well, maybe they'll watch this video.
It's Rod Rumble. Hello, Rod, if you're watching this later. Anyway, so practice self-control. So it's about, and although it doesn't sound attractive, in fact, all of us realize that practicing self-control is actually good for us and makes us feel better.
That's what I was going to ask you. So self-control can lead to greater contentment, you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can take, there are all sorts of areas, but one of the examples I give in the book of an area that's not a moral issue at all, it's the thing about if you've just done your big shop and you've brought home a massive container of ice cream, and before you put it in the freezer, you put everything else away, and then you think, I'll just treat myself to a bowl of ice cream. And you have a bowl of ice cream, and that's really nice. And then you think, well, actually, there's a lot of ice cream there. There's a lot left. I'll treat myself to a second bowl of ice cream. And you could, and maybe you do. And then you could have a third bowl of ice cream. And we all know, everybody watching this knows that if we have 3 bowls of ice cream, we will enjoy it at the time. But afterwards, we'll probably feel bloated and we'll probably not feel good about ourselves. It would have been much better to be self-controlled, just to have 1 bowl of ice cream, and then to say you can have another bowl of ice cream tomorrow or next week or something like that. Self-control actually does us good. And if we're not self-controlled, it makes us feel bad about ourselves.
Yeah. One of the areas I was thinking about with this and self-control in my own life is working from home. It's much easier to procrastinate about projects and things need to be done. But at the end of the day, if I just procrastinate all day, I haven't, at the end of the day, I feel more stressed about what then needs to be done. Where if I practice some discipline, I guess you could say, and say, right, well, we're going to spend a little time here and we're going to work on this. And I do actually feel better. Not just because the build-up is not as big at the end of the day, but because I've actually, not just given in to, well, let's not do anything because we don't have a pressing deadline, but I've actually done something.
Yeah, that's actually a great example, Callum, because I think the danger with me is I think of self-control as a negative thing, things I won't do. Whereas you're talking about self-control as a positive thing. I will, even though I don't feel like doing this, I am going to do it for half an hour or something. I'm going to do it, and then you feel better about yourself. So self-control, whatever form it takes, it helps. I mean, and there are classic examples. Obviously, I think I would describe myself as a recovering chocoholic. What I can't do is have a box of chocolates in the flat. It's just stupid for me. I mean, it's fine for other people, but I know that I'll find it very difficult just to have one chocolate. Well, I don't find it hard to have one chocolate and put the box back, but then a few minutes later, I'm going back and taking the box down from the shelf again and having another chocolate. So I need self-control to say, I am not going to have, I mean, if somebody gives me a box of chocolates, that's fine. And I mean, everybody watching this, you can get my address very easily and send it to me. Don't do it. Don't do it. But it's just, I feel better about myself if I don't fill myself with chocolate, give in to that sort of weakness. It's a self-control thing.
Which, like you said, is not to say a bowl of ice cream or chocolate or even rest sometimes, in my example of procrastinating, are bad things. They're very good things. But it's about the discipline of not too much.
Yeah, absolutely. For some, I mean, there are some things that are, I mean, bigger moral issues, like, I don't know, starting an adulterous relationship or something like that. And to have self-control to say, no, I am not going to do that, even though maybe the opportunity was there. I'm okay, that's going to cost me something, but it's also, I'm actually going to feel better about Andrew Page if I have the strength to say I'm not going to do that. So sometimes it's big issues like that, but very often it is things like exercise, chocolate, alcohol, things like that.
Yeah. I love the fact as well that this is habit number 3, and we had habit number 1 of enjoy beauty first. Because in a sense, you could think, habit number 2, dig your garden, look after the space you're in. Habit number 3, be self-controlled. Like, it's all about, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, to quote Jordan Peterson, and his kind of 12 rules for life, rule number 1, where it's quite, do this, don't do that. But it's not actually about taking all the fun away. God wants us to enjoy beauty. As you said, he gives all the rest of the garden, but it's about what helps us to flourish and to feel good, content.
Exactly right. I mean, and I think one of the dangers in a sort of, when I'm feeling a bit down, if I'm having sort of the lockdown blues, which I am sometimes at the moment, not at this precise moment, but it does happen. Or if I'm just feeling fed up, maybe I'm feeling lonely, discouraged, whatever it is, the danger is I then resort to what I call a comfort sin. So I could, if I had the box of chocolates at home, then I could gorge on that, and it's a short-term fix. There's comfort there at the time. It feels good, but afterwards I feel worse about myself. And that you can say the same thing about internet porn. You can say the same thing about, well, heaps and heaps of things.
Yeah.
You can say these things they are comfort sins. They're there to make us feel better. Whereas actually, we will feel better about ourselves if we have self-control, and and then we will feel the contentment that we're actually looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess in psychology or in counseling or things like that, they would call this like boundaries as well. That that we're meant to have certain boundaries in our lives.
We're talking about. I talked about chocolate. What would be some of the things in that sort of area? Give us one example.
We're extremely similar. I mean, I brought up procrastination because the ice cream analogy was too close to home for me. I just have the whole tub out. It's probably, I mean, one of the biggest ones for me is food as well. Joe and I actually don't keep snacks in the house, which is because I'm so ill-disciplined with snacks and things I can easily eat right away. And poor Joe, because she's disciplined and she could have them and she could have a whole cabinet of them and would, you know, be very disciplined, but I'm not. And so the sacrifices she has made. Wow. So food's another one for me as well.
She probably didn't realize the cost it was going to be when she married you.
I know. Yeah, I tried to keep it, you know. No. Yeah. So so that is habit number 3, practice self-discipline. Maybe you want to share with other people, maybe in the church digital community, ways in which you are trying to practice self-discipline, ways you've seen, like we've shared about chocolates and snacks. But yeah, when we practice these habits, we can often find growing in contentment and growing in our relationship with God. So thanks, Andrew, and see everyone next week for habit number 4.